the virtues of the masters and the compassion and mercy of the grand predecessors, senior transmitters, lecturers, temple masters, and everyone for giving me the opportunity today to talk about today's topic. You guys can see the screen, right? Which is chapter 54 of the Tao Te Ching. It's the title. There are two, but the first one is called Well Established. Okay, well established what? It's the practice of Tao and also virtues. But anyway, okay. This alternative title is Establish and Hold or Embrace, which is really establish practice Tao and embrace or hold teachings of Tao. And there's a deeper meaning too, but we'll get to that. All right. It's a, well, I think it's the longest chapter of the 50s, okay? So, of the 51 to 59, or 50 to 59, chapter 50. This is the longest chapter, I believe, yeah. Okay, and yeah, I believe it's the longest chapter, I think. Okay, anyway, so of the 50s. Okay, so it's divided into 4 sections, okay? It's the first section is the premise or the thesis, and then the second, okay, lines 4 through, I think it's 10, right? Lines 4 through 8, okay, is the analysis, as well as the lines 9 through, I think it's 12, 13, okay? It's also the second half of the analysis, and then the conclusion, the last 2 lines, okay? This conclusion also happens to be the same as chapter, I think, 16, way back, okay? Going way back. Yeah, returning to, chapter 16, or, sorry, chapter 21, okay? Chapter 21. Yep, 21, through or from the Tao, or conform to the Tao, okay? That's chapter 21, all right? Okay, as a matter of fact, these last 2 lines are very similar, okay? All right, so that's the overview, okay? This is going to be pretty long. I'm going to take at least 90 minutes, okay? All right, so let's see. Okay, here it is. Here's the outline. Okay, so I'm doing the first section right away, okay? It's because it's probably better not to break it up, but anyway, so, well, it flows better anyway, okay. But that which is well established cannot be uprooted. So that's the first phrase, okay, right here, okay. So that which is, and then the second phrase is that which is strongly held or, embraced, okay, strongly embraced, that's right. Cannot be taken, okay, second phrase. And then, therefore, the descendants will commemorate ceaselessly or endlessly or continuously. Okay. Okay. Now, in this first section, the key phrases are here, here, and here. Okay. Or the key things. So let's look at the first phrase, 善见者, okay. All right, well, here's the word by word, okay, meaning, san means good, benevolent, excellent, stuff like that, okay. The second word, 见, means to establish, okay, so that's a verb. And then the third word is, it's like a pronoun, okay? It's a pronoun, or it could be an object pronoun. Okay, all right. So what's the meaning of that which is well established, or a person who's well established? So there's 2 ways to look at it. One's a person as a person, or one is just something, some entity. It could be concept, it could be tangible, intangible, etc. Okay, now let's, so there are different levels. Okay, so let's talk about the personal level. So basically what it means is this refers to the Tao in one's life. Okay, so a person, is a person well established in what? That is, in cultivating or studying the Tao, or about the Tao. Okay, so, or what is the extent of your commitment to the Tao? Now people approach or regard the Tao in many different ways, right? From totally laughing at it. Well, this is not like chapter 41. On hearing the Tao, right? Talk about the high level, mid level, and the low level people. Low level, when they hear the Tao, they laugh at it. But it's not talking about that. It's remember in chapter 41, hearing the Tao, the high, mid, and low level could also refer to Tao cultivators, right? Okay, not just regular people, ordinary people, but okay. So in this case, it's about people who have different, you can say, levels of interest or cultivating the Tao, etc. Right? Okay, so from passing fancy to lifelong commitment. So you can say it's from low level to high level, right? Okay, so ba it's a verb, okay, or it could be a adjective too, cannot be uprooted, but it's a verb, okay. But anyway, so the basic meaning of the first phrase is, if you're committed to, that's well established in the lifelong practice of Tao, that it becomes something which is permanent, which is integrated into your being, then you would never lose it. Okay, so it cannot be easily uprooted, right? Okay, so another way of just understanding this phrase is, it's a well-established practice of the Tao. Okay, it's like a tree with deep roots which cannot be easily torn from the earth. Okay, so you're firm in there. Okay, established. Or now, now remember I was talking. It says different levels. Okay, so this can say about a person, but you can also deal with intangible things like Tao concepts, ideas, and teachings. Intangible and physical objects can be destroyed, while intangible thoughts cannot, right? You can't destroy something you can't see or touch. I mean, you could probably, but it's very difficult. Okay, it's all right. So an idea like the Tao, when shared with many, especially when it's spread, widespread, okay, then it becomes indestructible, right? That's why we say, ideals of freedom, things like that, right? If every people have that, you can't uproot that idea. You can't erase it unless you brainwash everybody, right? Stuff like that. I mean, example. I'm just using. Okay. Now, it could also be physical objects. Physical object. This is contrasting between intangible. Physical objects they're tangible can always be taken away. Right? Yeah, that's the thing about physical, because they don't last, right? Okay. So while belief and faith, which is intangible, are not objects, so they cannot be taken. So for more on intangible thoughts, let's go to Appendix A. Okay, so we're just talking about the different levels, right? So intangible thought, like the Tao, I mean idea. Okay, if it's spread among or established among many people, then it's unlikely to be taken away, right? It's unlikely. Okay, so sorry, Appendix A here. Okay, so intangible thoughts. Okay, so ancient sages realize certain patterns. Okay, so number one, thought patterns from one person to another could be far more lasting than physical objects, right? So the Tao practice taught by master to disciples. So we, today we have many examples, right? Look at, Lao Tzu didn't have, he had disciples, but, I guess the better known one is Mencius, but that's like 2 generations after him. But ready example would be Confucius and his disciples, right? So, Confucianism is still around today, even though, it may be a little bit different. It may be different than what it was 2,500 years ago. But, that practice still continues. And Buddhism, same idea, right? Jesus, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so, all right. So then, now, for tangible object, somebody's belongings can be taken, but not cherished memories, right? So deeply held beliefs or faith. So persevering through difficult times, for example, right? So yeah, sure. You may, a person's home, wealth, property, etc., could be taken away, but the memories of things or anything, relationships, whatever, cannot, right? So that's why, that's how people can persevere through difficult times, right? Because there's faith, hope, etc. Okay, those can't be taken away, at least not easily. Okay, third is, this means one must be especially careful in planting thoughts, ideas, and concepts that will take root in the mind. So that's why it's very important, right, that we need to have proper understanding, proper views, proper thoughts, proper resolve. Okay, so because those are intangible things, ideas, concepts, etc. So, that's why, holy teacher, other Buddhas too, they stress the importance. I think this comes in, it comes in many different topics. This idea comes is brought up in different classes, like the 4 courses of cultivation, right? The first point is what, holy teacher like to say this is, be careful of your thoughts, right? Okay, and then because your thoughts will become words, right? Then words become action, action becomes habit, habits become your I don't want to say there's just one more step, then it becomes your destiny, right? Oh, character, yeah, that's right. Yeah, habits mold your character or influence, or has a strong influence, and then your character will determine your destiny. Now I'm gonna do something similar to that. I'm gonna show a diagram, but that's a little later. But it's the same idea. See, it's the same idea. So so what's the seed or the core is your thoughts or ideas or concepts. Okay, so that's why it's so important, right? So that's why, all the Buddhists say, be very careful of your thoughts. That's the first thing, right? Because then thoughts can turn to words, words into actions, actions and habits, habits to character, character to destiny, right? So there's a causal relationship right there. Okay, all right. So go back. So that's thoughts. This is long. Okay, we have like 16 pages of stuff, okay, to go through. All right, okay. Where are we? Okay, right here. So further understanding of the first phrase now, okay, that which is well established cannot be uprooted. So conversely, if you just view Tao as a passing fancy, not committed to its daily practice, and do not have a lifelong commitment to Tao, then your foundation of Tao will not be firmly established. So it can be uprooted, okay, or taken away, or erased, etc. So it becomes easy come, easy go. So without a solid foundation, that's the well-established practice, and a lifelong strong commitment to the Tao, your practice of the Tao can be easily uprooted, replaced, or etc., or go away. Okay. Now, remember I told you that there are different levels to that first phrase. Okay, so there is another level. Okay. So that to be well established is to be non-conditioned. That's the level of, well, it's to have the goodness, the Tao virtues, naturally manifest from within our birthless and vanishingless Buddha nature essence is to be naturally established. This is called that which is well established. So it's not, it has nothing to do with the person, but it's how it's established. Okay, so it's basically to be like that non-conditioned state, which is basically what? The natural state of our true nature, our Buddha nature, essence, etc. So then, if that's the case, if we are in that same state, the wu wei or non-conditioned state, everything is naturally established because everything is flowing or in accordance or conformance or at one with our Buddha nature essence. Okay, so that's called well established. So that's the highest level. Okay, so that's another way of looking at it. Okay, so all right, so let's look at the second. Second phrase. Okay, one who strongly holds. Okay, it refers to basically sincere and firm belief or faith in the Tao. So that's the pretty basic, level. All right, that's a higher level too. Okay, so the basic meaning of the second phrase is if you have a strong or firm belief in the Tao, then your faith in the Tao cannot be taken away from you, right? Just like people have very strong belief in religions or whatever, concepts or whatever, right? It's not easy, right, to take it away. Okay, so if you tightly embrace the Tao, then your faith in the Tao cannot be easily taken away. Okay, so that's more specific. Okay, now conversely, if your belief in the Tao is shallow or superficial, like a passing fancy, then you can easily lose faith in the Tao. All right? So, further understanding is without a sincere and deep belief in the Tao, doubts can arise. So your faith in the Tao can be easily shaken. Okay, that's why. Okay, so if you don't have a deep level of belief, faith, and now how does that deep level of belief come about? Well, we have to cultivate, obviously. We have to learn. We have to be diligent, right? Be sincere, right, about it. Not a passing fancy, right? Not like the low-level people or cultivators who hear of the Tao and just say, I'm doing it because, my family's doing it, or, my friends are doing it, or my partner's doing it. I just want to look good. I don't want to, whatever. Okay, so it's not, that can be easily shaken, right? Okay, all right. Now, there's a deeper level. Okay, this is the deeper level. Ooh, okay, this is, all right, okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, that's a lot of information. Okay, deeper level of what is strongly held. It's not just the person that has a deep faith or belief, but it means tightly embrace the Tao essence. That essentially means, obviously the highest levels, you are the Tao with the Tao essence. Okay, that's, okay, all right, you are congruent at one with your true nature, with Buddha nature. Okay, so we should know that whatever we face in this material existence are all the functions and uses of our birthless and vanishingless Buddha nature essence. So everything comes from the Buddha nature essence. Okay, and these are just functions. They're not real, or they're not true, or they're not eternal. Okay, because they're not real or true because they're not eternal, because they're subject to change. So all the functions and uses are not lasting. So that's not real and will constantly change. While our Buddha nature essence will never change, right? That's the essence. So you have to know, we have to, so that which means strongly held also means that we know what is the essence and what is the function. Okay, so that's to know the difference. Okay, so we don't mistake the functions and uses for the essence, right? That is, whatever things we see in the material world, right? Okay, those are all functions, but unfortunately, most people, a huge majority of people, view it as essence, as the true thing, and that's not true, right? That's not okay. Now, what about the Buddha nature? Okay, now, I think in previous classes, in other classes, sorry, we hear people describe what Buddha nature is like. Well, I think this came from either the Surangama Sutra or the Avatamsaka Sutra. I think it's Bodhisattva Manjusri mentioned this. Okay, he said the Buddha nature essence is the 3 P's. Okay, perfect, penetrating, permanent. Okay, which is authentically perfect. You could say truly perfect or really perfect. Okay, and genuinely penetrating, truly permanent, where perfect means all inclusive. It's complete, it's consummate, right? Complete, consummate. It doesn't lack anything, right? It's everything, right? It's all inclusive. Okay, consummate. Penetrating means all pervasive, universal, everywhere. You can say everywhere or nowhere because it's intangible, but it's all pervasive. So it's universal, it's everywhere. Okay. And permanent means always eternal and changeless. Okay. All right. So that's so if you are, that which is strongly held, if you are with your Buddha nature, then you have all of these qualities. Okay. All right. So of course it cannot be taken or that which is strongly held cannot be taken, right? Because you are the Buddha, which is everything. You are the essence, right? So anyway, okay. All right. So the third phrase, let's go to the third phrase. Okay. 子孙 means descendants, well, grandchildren. Okay. It's made up of 2 compound words, but okay, this word, okay, well, right here. Sorry, this term, it's pronounced 祭祀, right? 祭祀, okay. It's basically ritualistic offering to honor the memory of ancestors, or it could be events. Okay, so this ritual, unfortunately, is often misunderstood by the West as ancestor worship. Okay, so anyway, okay. Then this word 奏 means to stop, to end, to suspend. So 不奏, right? That's the phrase here. Means nonstop. Okay, now let's go to this. Okay, so all the third phrase, Lao Tzu was saying, is that all the descendants will venerate or honor the ancestors. What does that mean? So basically it means this veneration or paying proper respects to the ancestors is not the same as ancestor worship. It's an expression of gratitude, not religious worship, though. Okay, that's the difference. It is about remembering where you came from, never forgetting where you came from. It's about remembering your roots. Okay, now there's a higher level. This is physical, but there's a higher, more intangible. Okay, now the additional meaning of the phrase is you being in the middle, that is between your ancestors and posterity. That's the future generations, your children, etc., or even grandchildren, right? So you being in the middle should pay proper respects to your ancestors and pave the way for future generations. That's posterity. You are the link between your ancestors and future generations, right? Makes sense, right? It's a continuum. Okay, now let's go to a little bit to the higher level. Okay, now, so if you establish the Tao in your family, okay, let's do this. Okay, first, it will benefit future generations, okay? Even though they may not realize it now, okay? So this display of gratitude, that's the ritual veneration towards the ancestors, makes a lot of sense. Now, there's a Chinese proverb or saying, it's very, Zen uses a lot, okay? It's called drink water, reflect or think of its source. While drinking water, think or reflect of its source. That's, 饮水思源, right? So this is a metaphor of asking, where did we originally come from spiritually? Okay, so it's, the higher level, it's spiritual. It's referring to our spiritual, So this phrase is can be most can be most closely associated with this veneration of your source. To never, ancestor, physically, tangibly, it's ancestor, but spiritually, it's the source. To never take your existence for granted. So if you cherish yourself, you would also cherish your forebears, those who came before you. Okay, the people who paved the way for you, that's the forebears. It is not about the descendants of someone who had established the Tao practice in the family being prayed to or worshipped, but about the gratitude they are expressing for the ancestor that has established a practice of living life in a meaningful way. All right, so that's why the descendants will commemorate endlessly or ceaselessly or continuously. It's because it's not worshiping them. It's basically to what? Express the gratitude, to honor them, right? That the ancestors have established something that's very good, that's very practical, beneficial, etc., of living life in a good, in a meaningful way. And that's the Tao of living, right? Okay, now deeper understanding is now so these three phrases is because we have this is long. Yeah, this is long. Okay, so because we have established, that is the cultivation, the practice, and the virtues from our birthless and vanishingless Buddha nature essence. So when we say cultivation and practice, it means it's naturally established because we are in the same non-conditioned state, that wu-wei state, right? Now, wu-wei can be you can use it as an adjective, as a noun, okay, right? So in this case, I'm using it as it could be both, but it's the manner in which it is, we say it's a natural, right? Natural state, okay? Or, original state, right? Okay. And the virtues are naturally, right? Manifested, right? Okay. From our Buddha nature essence. So they will not be uprooted by the attractions or temptations and affairs of the outside world, of the material world. So all the conditioned matters are not lasting, while that which is well established is developed and built up from the non-conditioned Buddha nature essence. You can say that. Okay, so it is lasting, and the cultivation of practice can prove its achievement, where we can pass on these proven achievements to our descendants. Okay, so that's what. All right. Okay, now the higher understanding is it's basically the same thing, but okay. So the most important thing to establish in this material world is Tao virtues, morality, ethics, etc. Right, all that. Okay, so we must establish, righteousness and all that stuff. Okay, we must, and also wisdom too. Okay, but I'll get to that. But we must establish the standards for our lives from the Buddha nature. What are the standards of moral character based on? Right. It is our innate knowledge and ability of ethics, our conscience, aka conscience. Okay, so by embracing our Buddha nature essence, we can manifest our divine marvelous wisdom, Mahaprajna, okay, which is absolute. It's non-dualistic. This divine marvelous wisdom is not something that we learn while we have a physical body in this material world, but already equipped or innate in our true self nature, okay, Buddha nature. Okay, so if you want this divine marvelous wisdom to manifest, we must let go of all what we've learned in this material world. Okay, don't let knowledge obstruct the you can say the illumination or the light of our divine wisdom, okay, to come through. All right, so it's knowledge, but it's also desires, passions, emotions too. Okay, all right, because those are not lasting. They all come from the material world, right? Knowledge, etc., etc., etc. Okay, you learn. So why? How can we let go? Because knowledge, desires, emotions, etc., attachments. Okay, those all are acquired. You can say, acquired in this material existence. So what can be acquired can also be what? Taken away, be eradicated, be eliminated, right? Okay, because those are not lasting, right? Not eternal, all right? Okay. Okay, so the implications. If we do not have any standards, okay, here's the first half. If we do not firmly uphold the Tao virtues, then whatever we say and do will not be in harmony with heaven and earth, okay, or will not be congruent, okay. We should know that heaven and earth are very genuine, okay, real. Heaven and earth are based on authenticity. We also should learn to be authentic like heaven and earth. This way we can speak for heaven, right? Because the one thing that's lacking on heaven and earth is they don't speak, right? Okay, so that's the thing. So if we can be authentic or true, that means true to with our Buddha nature, true, then we can speak for heaven and earth because we are one with them. We are really equal to them. Okay, but anyway, okay, all right. So which I'll get to a little later. Okay. Okay, so by firmly holding on to this within us and being able to display it by manifesting through ourselves the Tao and all its virtues, this way we are the same level as heaven and earth. This is because heavens are one of the three talents, right? Previous chapters, we talked about that. I think 21, we do talk about that. Anyway, okay, it's either 21, I keep saying 16, but maybe it is 16. Yeah, it is 16. Yeah, it's 16. Okay, all right. Okay. So this is because so if you have an established pattern of Tao practice in your life, it should be well established. But anyway, it becomes part of you and thus cannot be uprooted or pulled out of you. So whereas a tentative or conditional belief can be shaken while deep and sincere belief cannot. Okay, there's a story called The Story of the Weeds. Yeah, it's kind of long. I'm going to go through it very quick. This is used by the Zen masters a lot. Okay, so once upon a time in ancient China, okay, there's a Tao sage master and disciples that live in a deep in the mountains, yeah. Okay, and so every 6 months, maybe 9 months, 6 months, or whatever, at least once a year, they make a supply run because they're in the mountains, right? So they don't have everything they need. Okay, so they need to make a supply run to the nearest village to get some supplies. Okay, to bring back to their monastery or stuff like that. So one day on that supply run day, the Tao sage, the master, and was accompanied by 3 of his disciples to make this supply run. So they came down the mountains, anyway, and on the way to the village, they passed by a huge expanse or field, many square miles, huge square mile of just land, farmland. It's like it's not farmland yet, but it's like farmland, potential farmland, and it's overgrown with weeds. Okay, so that's why it's a story of the weeds. So weeds, wild grass, weeds. So the Tao sage, the master, saw this and he reflected, say, hey, this is a good opportunity to find out what my disciples, whether or not they've learned and understood the Tao, that basically how well established they understand the Tao. Okay, all right. So he turned to his disciples, there happens to be 3 disciples accompanying him, and asked yourself, hey, we've learned, look at the huge expanse of weeds or whatever. Okay. And this is similar to what we are learning or cultivating about. It's just like our mind. So the weeds are like this, I don't say extraneous thoughts, ideas, emotions, feelings, passions, desires, whatever. Okay, are like that fill up our minds, just like this weeds are overgrown across this this huge area. Okay, so can you tell me, he asked his disciples, can you tell me what can we do to remove these weeds? Okay. So now he had 3 disciples. So the first disciple, he's always very confident and always very quick. Okay. So he's the first to speak among the 3. He said, "Oh, it's easy. We just use our hands and pull out the weeds, uproot them, right? So isn't that direct, simple, and direct, right? So just very straightforward. You confront. Just like we confront our emotions, passions, doubts, whatever. Okay, up front, and then just eradicate them. Very simple, very direct, very simple. And so he is very happy with his answer. But then the second disciple, he tends to be a little bit more thoughtful, and he would say, Master, I disagree with him, because look at this field. Okay, I mean it's huge. I mean it's just to confront them directly and pull out the weeds by hand. It's going to take you not just hours, days, weeks, maybe months. Okay, so it's too slow. It's not very efficient. It's not that applicable or practical. So I say you should use some tools such as a shovel. Then at least you can be more efficient. You can be quicker. Okay, in pulling out the weeds. So he's pretty satisfied with the answer. Then the third disciple who tends to be the slower than the first 2, but he's very thoughtful and he has a lot of ideas. Okay, he tends to be very okay. So he said, Master, I disagree with the first 2. It's good to be able to confront, be direct and simple and pull out by hand, or even use the shovel. But look at this field. Even if you use a shovel, a tool, it still take you probably days, weeks, months, or whatever, a long time. It looks so bad. So, I got an even better solution or, idea. And, and it's also a tool, but this is what we learn, right? What we practice, about the Tao. They are, you can say powerful aids, tools to help us, right? To cultivate our minds, right? So he suggests, I'll use fire. Yeah, we just have to, be careful, start out, make sure that the fire can be contained once you start it, it doesn't go, like a wildfire. But once you start the fire, if we can contain it properly and, we plan carefully, man, it will burn through the weeds like crazy. And we can, wipe out the weeds in no time, not in no time, but in a very efficient, quick manner. So he thinks he's the smartest. So he goes, yeah. So he's very happy. And so, then the Tao master, he didn't reply to each individual, and gave his judgment or his opinion, but he did say he agreed because all 3 of you are correct. You all touch upon the key areas that you have to be direct. It has to be simple, right? And you can use different tools, simple tools like the shovel, or even more advanced methods like using a fire, to get rid of these weeds. That is to eradicate, these extraneous thoughts, emotions, passions, feelings, etc. Right, from our minds. So he goes, that's all pretty good. But then he stopped. He says, but you know what? We don't have much time. We still have to go and get our supplies. So let's hurry on. So then he left it there. Okay. And then, so they didn't, talk about this topic further. And then, probably 6 months, 9 more months, maybe even a year passed. Once again, they have to make their supply run. And once again, the Tao Master and the same 3 disciples accompany him down from their mountain monastery or whatever, and to make their supply run. So once again, they came down from the mountains and passed by that same area that they have previous passed by, months or maybe a year ago. Okay, now, so instead of this vast, expansive field of weeds, whoever owned the land, or maybe the villagers nearby, whatever, they converted this formerly vast field of weeds into rice paddies. Okay, all right, okay, or you can substitute farmland, cropland, whatever, but rice paddies is good. Okay, it's good enough. So then the Tao Master sage, and his disciples, observe the transformation, of this formerly vast field of weeds, and just like boondocks, boony, very I would say unnatural. It's still natural to have weeds, but into something that's totally different, just rice paddies. So it's a different scene. Okay, so then the Tao Master reflected upon it and said, turned to his disciples and say, you see, now look at this, the same area that we passed by, many months ago. Now it's totally transformed from wild growth, undergrowth, and weeds into this, very, well managed rice paddy fields. Okay, so he said, when I ask you, how to transform this field of weeds into something, how to get rid of those weeds, you each gave different answers, which is not wrong per se, but you all miss something fundamental. Yeah, see, so okay, so here's the teaching point. Okay, and that is, all your proposals are basically just temporary. They're temporary measures. So pulling them out by hand, using a shovel, or using a fire, yes, can, over a certain amount of time, can, get rid of the weeds. But once again, over time, the weeds will grow back. Right? Okay, that's the natural things. Okay, so all the methods that you propose are still temporary. So that's not lasting. And what's temporary and not lasting is not the Tao. It's not the true Tao. Right? So that's a teaching point. So what the Tao Master or sage was trying to get to is that, but if you transform this formerly weed-covered field into a rice paddy, then it will displace the rice paddy, will displace the weeds, and the weeds then cannot come back. Yes, you still have to maintain it. That's the well-established practice, or the strongly held or embraced. Right? You still have to do that. Yeah, you still have to be meticulous in maintaining and upkeeping the rice paddies. Okay, then the weeds will never come back. Right, as long as you keep doing that. Right, doing the maintaining, etc., etc. Okay, so that's the point. The teaching point is that, yes, we should get rid of the weeds, right? But remember, if you don't replace the weeds with something else, okay, then it's all going to be temporary, because eventually the weeds will come back. So just like, you can get rid of thoughts, right? Or emotions or feelings or passions, desires, but that's only temporary, because, sooner or later you see something else, or, over time, it's going to come back, right? The desires, the emotions, the thoughts, the feelings. So you need to displace that. You get it? Okay, so that's the whole point, all right? And you displace that with something that's good, and that's the well-established, practice, virtues, etc. Okay, so let's go to Appendix B. It's a long story, I'm sorry, but yeah. Okay, the weeds. Okay, so basically there's there's common practice, okay? And common practice, right? It's not wrong, but don't forget, it's still limited, as limitations. Okay, so the first one is we do introspection. Yeah, we review one's actions, own action. That's good. That we should do that. Okay, so but that alone is necessary but insufficient. Okay, second, we read. Yeah, we read the sutras, absorb the collective wisdom from text. That's also good. It's sufficient. It's necessary, but still insufficient. Or we do meditation. Now, there's two types. There's passive, that's the stillness, sitting, and then the active, the movement exercise forms, okay, while mind remains tranquil. So that's not bad too, right? Okay, it's necessary to have our mind remain tranquil. That's necessary, but also insufficient. And then contemplation, that's the deep, we use communion here with divine avatars of virtue. That's at the beginner level. It's the prayers. We pray to Buddhas, to the Bodhisattvas for guidance, for help, for strength, etc., right? But the event that's the the very basic. That's like the what's that? Small boat method, okay? Then the advanced is being closer to the Buddha nature essence in order to manifest its innate virtues. That's the more advanced. That's the, okay, so the beginning is like the goat cart, okay? And then this advance is like the ox cart, or the white bullock cart, white bull, white bull cart, okay? Okay, method. That's from the Lotus Sutra, okay? Now, these are good. These are the common practice. They are all necessary to some degree or another, okay? But they by themselves are insufficient. What's the well-established, what Lao Tzu was saying, okay? It's the sage in the story point out to that the above do not last. These do not last, okay? That's the problem, okay? That's the problem, okay? All right? Because these are all different methods, okay? You can say, yeah, methods, okay? So they are just functions, tools, okay? So they're not the essence, okay? So that's why it's not. So what's the lasting Tao? The lasting Tao is to plant the seeds of goodness. That's tied to establish virtues. So when we say establish virtues, okay? So that's just reviewing your negative words and actions, but also speak kind words and practice compassionate action. So you have to do something about it, right? You don't just, reflect, yeah, I said something bad, or I thought about something bad, or I did something bad, and then that's it. No, that it's necessary. Yeah, that's the first step. That's only the first step. But there's the follow-up. That is, okay, from now on, I'll curse. I'll not curse. I'll speak kind words, merciful words, and I'll do good, etc. Okay, so let the positive take root and replace the negative. Okay, then over time, the effect will last and be completely natural. Okay, so that's what's lasting. Okay, all right. So, all right, let's. It's a long time. It's 2 hours. Okay, all right. So the key point is the long key point. Okay. And we're still in section 1, but I'll go through the next 2 sections quickly. Okay. Well, yeah, there are a lot of stuff. All right. Okay. So Okay, so we need to establish the standards of Tao virtues, because what is very important within heaven and earth is that there is a need for, we say, righteousness, morality, ethics. Okay, some standard basically. Okay, there's a need for virtue. There's a need for Tao virtue. So the entire social order and abilities of people can be auspicious and sound. If the entire society loses these, there's no way to live and work in peace. Society will steadily deteriorate. Morality will be corrupted. Robbery and theft will rise, and all these non-ideal systems. Okay, so this remember we talked about high virtue, right? High virtue, right? That's chapter 38, right? Chapter, it talks about different things, high virtue, high benevolence, high righteousness, high propriety, etc. Right? So it references that. It's coming from there. Okay. So, but by presenting the entire conscience, the Tao virtues. But by presenting the entire conscience or Tao virtues, since all sentient beings have the standard of Tao virtue within, by seeing what you say and do, all sentient beings will also learn. Okay? Will also learn, and along with us, will also preserve the entire social order. This way, we can all live and work in peace and contentment, living a very auspicious and peaceful life. And by leaving a lasting legacy for our descendants to cultivate and practice. The descendants can also achieve enlightenment. This way, there is an unending continuity. So the descendants will commemorate. Okay, so that's section 1. All right, now let's go to section 2, the analysis. Section 2 and 3 are related. I'm going to skip all these definitions. So it's this is the first 3 of the 5. There's 2 more. The next, so cultivate it in yourself. Its virtue shall be true. Cultivate it in the family. Its virtue shall be abundant. Cultivate it in the community. Its virtue shall be lasting. Now, what's it? Cultivate it. That's the Tao. Okay, basically the Tao. Okay, all right. So the basic. Now there are 3 parts to this. One is within yourself, then within the family. And then now literally this means village. This word means village, but it's the community, okay? Neighborhood, community, okay? Now, this is cultivate, and this is virtue, okay? So, all right, so, so the basic meaning of the first line is, this is linking that which is authentic, genuine, real, and true to Tao cultivation. The only way to gain genuine virtue is to cultivate oneself, okay? So to cultivate oneself is to what? Attain real virtue. The virtue is authentic. It is the true Tao virtue, neither pretense nor for show. And what makes it real? It's because when you cultivate yourself, what? Remember, you'll reach that natural state, that non-conditioned state of our Buddha nature. And then that's the real thing. So therefore, the virtues, the real virtues, the true virtues, that it's innate in the Buddha nature will show itself, will manifest. Okay, so that's what makes it real. All right. So the focus of Tao cultivation is the true self. We say Buddha nature essence, your true essence, that is to cultivate from our birthless and vanishingless Buddha nature essence. Okay, that's the key to real cultivation. Okay, all right. It's not cultivating knowledge, etc. Okay, intellect, whatever. Okay, so this is the connection between Tao cultivation, virtue, and that which is authentic, real, and true. When you cultivate the Tao in yourself, the virtue shall be true, and you have to use the truth for cultivation, the principle. Okay. Let's see. Okay, now let's do the second phrase. When you cultivate it in in the family, its virtue shall be abundant. Okay, so basic meaning is, if you were to cultivate the Tao in the family, the virtue of the Tao shall be abundant, right? It's spread among the family. Okay, so but when your cultivation expands beyond yourself, just to include the family, from self-cultivation to cultivating the Tao with the family, then you attain the personal level of abundance. The family, in this case, it's not limited to just family by blood, that's relatives, but can include close friends, colleagues, etc., the expanded family. So, you just, from the individual, you then expand outward the cultivation or manifest the Tao. That's another more holistic way of saying it. To what? First, those closest to you, right? It could be family members. It could be very close friends, partners, etc., right? Okay. So, and then that's how the virtue also expands. And then that's become abundance. Abundance in virtue that you attain when you cultivate Tao beyond yourself is reflected in every aspect of family life. So your family will become harmonious, right? For example, or well-ordered. So abundant virtue leads to harmony, which leads to love, which leads to stronger bond within the family. So also a harmonious family is a prosperous family because everyone in the family is working together for the common goal. Okay, now let's do the third phrase. Basic meaning of the third line is, which is when you cultivate it in the community, its virtue shall be lasting. Okay. So when you expand the Tao cultivation beyond the family, it influences your community, your neighbors, friends, etc., in a positive way. Okay. So when the Tao is spread to more and more people, the more people the Tao influences, it becomes ever more indestructible. Remember, it's a concept, right? It's an idea. Okay. So the more the people know and practice Tao, the more it is impossible to eradicate. Okay. Also, more and more neighbors are affected by this lasting influence for the good. The virtue shall be lasting because more and more people are involved, right? Okay. So more and more people are inspired by this positive influence to work together for the common good. Okay. So the implication is, here. So by true cultivation of Tao by yourself, expanding it to include the family and then the community with the Tao virtues from within yourself that are displayed, that are truly practiced, shall be true, abundant, and lasting. Okay, so recall the most primary and fundamental root of everything else is the cultivation of one's character. That's on Great Learning. Okay, in paragraph 6 in the preface. Okay, same idea. So in this material world, we cannot have negative thoughts. Remember that weeds, right? Okay, so we must do our best to eradicate all the negativity because they will increase our karmic faults. So we have to replace that, okay? Not just eradicate, but also replace. So if our karmic faults increased, then, okay, sorry, one typo here. Then we will suffer more, right? Okay, all right, okay, yeah, right? This is why we need to have authentic cultivation of Tao to establish true, abundant, and lasting virtue to replace all the negativity. Moreover, this is the real, true moral conduct that's innate within us, okay? So that's the first half of section 2 of the analysis. Let's go to the last part, okay, which is cultivate it in the country, its virtue shall be prosperous. Cultivate it in the world, its virtue shall be widespread. Okay, so basic meaning of first line is when the cultivation of Tao expands to an entire country, it brings prosperity at the national level. The meaning is when the cultivation of Tao expands to an entire country, it brings about a just nation. Okay, okay. Just, it can mean righteous, it can mean ethical, okay, moral, okay. Anyway, so when the cultivation of Tao expands to an entire country, there's nothing that is lacking. There are surpluses and prosperity. For understand. However, unfortunately, it's very ideal, right? But it's a aspirational goal. But however, this is rarely accomplished in the history of humanity. Just look at history, okay? So some countries may be close to the Tao in certain aspects, okay? Now let's do the last phrase. So if the cultivation of Tao expands to the whole world, it brings the greatest possible benefit to all of humanity, all right? If the cultivation of Tao spreads to the entire world, its virtue has the greatest impact, okay? So if the cultivation of Tao spreads to the entire world, its virtue will transform the world into a world of harmony, right? Recall to cultivate oneself and then the world is in harmony. That's from Mencius, okay? He said that. Okay, so the further understanding is this last level is still an aspiration. That's when it cultivated into the entire world. Okay, the virtue should be widespread. That means to spread the Tao to the entire world. Not just to spread, sorry, but actually the entire world is practicing. It's well established in the practice of the Tao and its Tao virtues. Okay, so it's unfortunately not yet a reality. It's still an aspiration, though. But this has not happened in history of humanity. In the history of humanity, but it's still a very worthwhile goal, right? So the implication is when the cultivation of Tao expands to an entire country and the whole world, its virtue shall be prosperous everywhere, universal and widespread, where the country does not lack anything and the entire world will be transformed into an ideal world of harmony and prosperity. Okay, let's go to the diagram. Okay, where are we? Okay, let's go to the diagram. I think I have to click on this. Yeah, here it is. Okay, it's called the Expanding Dow. Okay, if I can find my mouse. Where's my mouse? Sheesh. Can't find my mouse. My pointer. Where is it? Dang. This is supposed to be an animation, make it fancy. Now I can't find my mouse. Hold on. I'm trying to find my mouse. How do I find my mouse? Hold on. Oh, it's here. It's here. Okay, there it is. Okay, here. Ooh, how come I can't see this? That's dumb. Okay. Anyways, okay, here it is. All right. So we have a circle. That's the inner core. Okay, that's the. All right. So cultivate it in yourself. So in Chinese, you read from the middle up, okay? All right, so that's to cultivate it. That's the Tao in yourself. Yeah, you start with yourself, right? Okay. And virtue shall be true. So you start from the middle in the Chinese and you read down, okay? So that's the red to red, the purple to purple, okay? Then you expand it, right? It's called expanding Tao to the next level, which is your family, okay? And that's to cultivate it in your family, okay? And virtue shall be abundant. So it goes to the next level. Then we go to the next level, we expand even further. Cultivate it in the community and virtue shall be lasting, right? It'll endure because more people, right, are well established in the Tao, right? Okay, or embrace the Tao, right? Then you go even further. So you cultivate what? It in the country and virtue shall be prosperous. Then you go even further. And this is the ideal, the whole ideal, the highest ideal is cultivate it in the world and virtue shall be widespread. Now, this is more like from the middle expanding outward to cover. So starting from you, right? So you are the element, fundamental element, and it's going to expand to everything to cover finally the entire world. Now, this is, one path. You can say the path. Now in chapter 54. Now, remember in chapter 53, we talked about the proper path. Remember chapter 53? Last week. Okay, so what's on the furthest left? Okay, ooh, I don't like this. Furthest left column and the furthest right are what's stated in the text that Lao Tzu was saying, right? The courts are corrupt, the fields are barren, the warehouses are empty, etc. Officials wear fineries, carry sharp swords, fill up on drink of food, acquire excessive wealth, right? Okay, so that's. Remember in the conclusion of 53, that is definitely not the Tao, most certainly not the Tao. So what's the opposite? And that's the proper path. Live your life with integrity, and that's the opposite of the corruption. Do productive and positive work. That's the opposite of fields are barren. Well, and so the arrows means that it's more linear in chapter 50. I just want to point out the difference. It's more linear. So you start out with, living with your life, living a life of integrity. Okay, then that can lead to number 2, do productive and positive, and then that can lead to abundant prosperity, right? So that's the opposite of these, right? Okay, now to live your life integrity also then becomes what? Being authentic rather than superficial. So these two, right? You can say they reinforce, so they follow each other. Okay. Now the next is when you do productive work, you collaborate with others in the spirit of harmony, as opposed to carrying sharp swords. Here, being authentic, as opposed to being superficial, right, and false. Okay, so authentic. So this chapter we talk about what's authentic virtues, real virtues, etc. Right, collaborate with others in the spiritual. That's doing it in the family, in the community, etc., right? Okay, and expand, right? And then enjoy. By receiving abundant prosperity, you can enjoy all the good things that life has to offer in moderation, right? So that's also the proper path, right? Okay, and then also receiving abundant prosperity means you share your resources with others, spirit compassion, and so that's to the whole world, right? A country and whole world, right? Now these 4 they don't necessarily occur in sequence. They can occur simultaneously. All right, so that's why there's no arrows, okay, between that. Okay, so that's 53, right? So 53, Lao Tzu is hinting, okay, this is one example of what's the proper path, but it's more linear, right? It's one to the next, etc. Okay, one element to the next. Whereas in the expand, it's more, I don't know, it's more, it's at least 2-dimensional. It's spherical. It's really spherical. It's multi-dimensional. That's what I was going to say. Okay, it's not linear. It's multi-dimensional. Okay, so you start with yourself first. Now this, shoot, sorry, I'm letting the cat out of the bag. Okay, all right. So you start out with yourself. Now there is more in the center here, in this center. Okay, yes, but it's a sphere. So it's your own sphere then expands to your family sphere, community sphere, or neighborhood, and then the country level, and then the world. So it's multi-dimensional. But okay, so that's one example. Okay, now let's go back to the outline. Okay, all right. The key point, and this is where we'll get to the rest. So there's a lot more. Okay, so all right, the key point. So when the okay, so when the entire world has virtue, when the entire world has the Tao, this means the Tao virtue is widespread. Everything will be very ideal. A very ideal living environment will appear in the world. So we will transform this Saha world. Okay, Saha is a Sanskrit term. It's usually translates as enduring thing, place. Or it's also a place of good and evil. It's the duality, the world of duality, you can say. Okay. That's the Saha world into a paradise. Okay, in Buddhism they use the term lotus world. Okay, so that's similar to the Confucian ideal of a world of harmony, aka utopia, right? Okay, we got quite a few areas to go to. Okay, all right. So let's go to summary part 1. Okay, so the importance of Tao is this. 1, let the Tao take root deeply in your heart. That's the well-established, okay, cannot be easily uprooted. So have a well-established practice. Let it be part of you so it can never be uprooted. And let your daily practice of the Tao be a lifelong commitment, okay? That's what it is, all right? It's a lifelong thing, okay? 2, embrace and hold on to the Tao, that which is strongly held, right, cannot be taken. So have a deep belief and sincere faith in the Tao. Make it an unseen yet lasting aspect of your life, right? Because the Tao ultimately is intangible, right? Pure essence. Okay, so replace the negative with the positive. This is to plant the seeds of goodness, which over time will displace and replace the bad. So therefore, the bad, eventually the weeds, can never come back because you already have deeply established, deeply rooted virtues that displaces all the negativity. So the negativity or the weeds can never have a chance to come back. Okay. And third, bring the Tao into your family. Okay. Create Tao-centric traditions, emphasize mutual understanding and harmony. This will have far-reaching impact, right? For posterity, for future generations. Okay. Ooh, quite a bit here. 4, share the Tao with your community. Also consider your extended family, expand the social circle, workplace, neighbors, etc. Okay. Then 5, let the Tao expand into the country. Now this is, this is more. It's because it's a bigger sphere, so it's more difficult. But okay, so especially through the use of technology, like what we're doing today, we're using Jitsi, or you can use Zoom, we can use social media, etc., right, to help spread the teaching, the Tao, okay, the virtues of the Tao, and spread, lastly, the message of the Tao in the world. The Tao still, unfortunately, even though, despite we can say, the prevalence of the Tao in certain countries, Taiwan, it's fairly widespread. It's fairly, I mean, that's not to say it's 100%, but, probably at least 40% probably, okay, have heard of the Tao or encountered the Tao in some level or another, okay? But in the US, it's probably less than 10%, right? For sure, right? Okay, and the rest of the world, probably definitely less than 10%. Okay, so your effort may mean the world to somebody out there, right? So we never know. So this is very, that's the highest ideal. That's the world of commonwealth, right? The Confucian notion, right, of the world of harmony. Okay, all right, that's a separate topic. I think we talked about it before. Okay, there's more stuff that we have to talk about, unfortunately. Okay, so now remember we talked about that sphere. Okay, okay, here it is. Okay, so for the connection of this section to the 8 stages clauses, that's from, that's, I should say, sorry, great learning. Okay, so it's 8 stages. Okay, so it's from the great learning. Okay. All right, so, okay, so, yeah, I forgot. I assume, people would know this. Okay, all right, okay, so let's go to Appendix C. Then there's diagram 2 and 3. Okay, so, and then it's related. Okay, it's related. So for the connection of this section to the 8 stages, 8 clauses of, great learning. Okay, we go to Appendix C. Then there's another perspective. So the great learning 8 clauses is one perspective, okay, but there's a different perspective of the similar model paradigm on the individual level cultivation. Okay, and then there's a connection between this section and the transformation of one's destiny at the individual level. Okay, so let's go to Appendix C, then we'll go to diagrams 2 and 3. Okay. Okay, Appendix C. Here is the connection, okay, of section 2 of chapter 54 to the 8 stages clauses. We say clauses, items. It's really items to do, steps, okay, steps to do, okay, of the great learning. That's in the preface, paragraph 5, okay? So in chapter 54, we talk about well established, whereas in the 8 stages, okay, it's the following. So, right, to cultivate it in yourself, it's to cultivate the self. That's step number 5 of the 8, okay? Cultivate in the family is to harmonize the family. Now, in the Tao Te Ching, in this chapter 54, it talks about cultivating the community, but in 8 stages, it skipped this, okay? So, but community is just like an intermediate level between family and cultivating the country, okay? So, chapter 54 says to cultivate in the country, and the 8 stages of great learning is talking about governing the country, and then lastly, cultivate it in the world is to bring peace to the world. Okay, so that's the correspondence. Okay, that's the direct relationship. So what about the first 4 stages? Now, chapter 54 didn't talk about how you do it in yourself in chapter 54, but in the last, if I look at my notes, last 20 plus chapters, 20 or even 30 chapters, go back as far as chapter 21, 21, 22, 21, 22, 23, 24, 38, 39, 41, 42, 49, 43, 44, 45, 47, 48, and 49 talks about it corresponds, okay, to what the first 4 stages, okay, of the 8, okay, about. I'm not going to get into it because that's not, it's beyond the scope of this chapter, okay, but just let you know, okay, so there is a correspondence, but the key is I want to go back to the, let's see, to the relationship of this is one perspective, but then I just want to point out to the I say similarity, but the the connection, for another perspective, okay, between what the great learning's 8 stages and what the individual cultivation is about. Okay, it's called the 5 ancient rings of destiny. Okay, let's do this. How do I do this? Okay, how do I do this? Is this it? Yeah. Okay, here, 5 ancient rings of destiny. Okay, boom. So, okay, it's your life. You start with your life, the individual first. Okay, you. Okay. Now, that's your core, okay? That's what is the true you, okay? What is the real you, okay? Or your life, okay? Anyway, it's what? Ultimately, it's your spirituality. Because, why? It's not your physical body. Because, why? Physical body is not eternal, right? So we talked about that in chapter 50, right? Life and death, right? We talked about that, right? Okay, so it's ultimately, we say spirituality. It's if you want to be more specific, spirituality is general, right? It's generic. But spirituality, ultimately, it's our realizing what is the true you, right? So that's our Buddha nature essence, true self, true nature, etc. Okay, so that corresponds to, in the 8 stages, the first, the level of attain the truth. Okay, that's 知智. Okay, that's to know the truth. What's the true essence? What's honestly the capital T truth, the ultimate truth? Yeah, in a sense it is, right? You realize what's the essence, okay, and that your body is just a physical. It's a physical manifestation. It's a function of your essence, so it's not eternal, but your spirituality is, okay. It's know that, okay, and also it's also to have no more attachments to your physical body. So that's the first stage, which is to get rid of attachments. Go, okay, go, okay, go, 自治. That's here. That's the core. That's the essence. So that's what is your true self. Okay, then that's the great learning, the 8 stages or 8 clauses. The first 2 is in here. Okay, so then we go to the next level, okay, which is your mind, right? So from what's the true you, the essence, it manifests into your mind. So the mind is not the essence, okay? Understand that. The mind, what? Come and go, right? Your thoughts come and go. But if you, have no attachments to the false you, okay? So that includes the mind even, okay? The intangible part. And you understand the true essence, that is your Buddha nature essence, your true nature, then what happens? Your perspective changes, yeah? Right? That's also this corresponds in some respects to the Eightfold Paths. I didn't mention in chapter 53, I could have mentioned that, but it's different. But anyway, that's too much. Anyway, it's also your perspective. Okay, so that's the proper view, proper understanding. It's also you what have the proper we say the proper mindset. Okay, so that's like similar to 正心. Okay, 正心, that's the fourth of the 8 stages. Okay, all right. Then also your thoughts then become what? Faithful to your true essence. Sincere thoughts. You have more faith, etc. Okay, so that's similar to 诚意. Okay, 诚意 means generally translated as, our thoughts are sincere. Okay, all right. So that's what. So actually, the first 4 stages are included in these 2 rings. Okay, we call it the 5 ancient rings of destiny. I mean, I didn't use that title, but somebody else did. So anyway, and I'm borrowing this idea from him. Okay, so all right, he's also part of the Tao anyway. Okay, but anyway, all right. So then you expand. Okay, so this is from your sphere of yourself, your true essence. Your that's in the center. Then you expand to the outwardly to the next sphere, which is really your functions now. Okay, that's the level which is your mind. Then you go to the next sphere, which is now from the mind, which is intangible, to the semi-tangible. Okay, at least relationships, right? Because relationships, can be manifested. I mean, it could be intangible, but also tangible, the bond, right? Okay. But so then what is relationships to the loved ones, right? To your loved ones, to, your family members, partners, etc. Right? So you expand to that level, and also your friends. So it's from your essence, then you go to that sphere of your, to the relationships. Okay, yeah, 待人. I mean, that means dealings with people. Okay, that's what it means. Okay, all right, relationships. Then from the relationships, you go expand even further to the next level. So that's this is the 3rd ring. The 4th ring. What's the 4th ring? It's the world. Now we're talking about more tangible things. Okay, material things. So deals with material things. Whatever. It could be your home, house, whatever, anything that's material. Okay, so also it's know how to manage them. Okay, remember chapter 46, we talk about contentment, right? That's the idea. Yeah, it's not, you realize that, hey, you should be content with whatever you have. There's no need to pursue, excess wealth, property, etc., right? Okay, so that's the material things. And what you end up is really with more prosperity than you understand, than you realize. Okay, so that's what it is. All right, so remember I think it's chapter 46 that said that line, very famous line, right? A very, very common line. It says, the satisfaction of contentment is the lasting or constant satisfaction or contentment, right? Okay, so that's real prosperity. All right, okay, so that's chapter 46. Okay, all right, that's the last line. Then you expand even further to the what? Your destiny. With this, starting from your true essence, when you realize, when you understand your true self, or you grasp it, right? You're with it. Then it expands to that, the essence. So you understand the principle, which is the essence, right? You know the essence, okay? And you're no longer attached to the physical things, the functions, not just physical, but any manifestations or functions. Okay, that's not lasting. Okay, no. Then you expand to your mind, the sphere of your mind. You have proper thoughts, proper views, right? Proper understanding, etc., and sincere, faithful thoughts, etc. Then you involve your loved ones, your family, your friends, etc., and then you expand that to not just living things or people, right? But also objects, right? Things, material things. It could be work, job, etc. And then what finally it's going to, all of these will affect your destiny. That is, you realize, oh, my life has a purpose. There is a goal in life. There is a higher goal, right? There's an ultimate goal, you can say, right? Okay, on that journey of life, that sacred journey of life, which is what? The sacred journey of cultivation. That's how we transform our destiny. Okay, so that's the ancient ring of 5 rings of destiny. So that the four stages, okay, the 8条目, the first 4, okay, it's a 格物, 知知, 诚意, and 正心. It's in the first 2 circles. Okay, makes sense, right? So that starts off in God. Now, next, here we go. Ancient rings. So how do they correspond? Okay, I'm going to go very quick. Okay, so here's the, that's the, okay, remember the first diagram we talk about on the left? Okay, the first diagram. Okay, all right, right? First diagram. That's the first, right? The one on the left is, we talk about the 5, the 5 spheres, right? Going from yourself to your family to a community to the country to the world, and the virtue shall be true, abundant, lasting, prosperous, widespread. That's section 2, right? Of chapter 54. Now, then on the right, we have the ring of destiny, right? Which is what? Which is about yourself expanding outward to include the world. Now, and also it corresponds to the first 4 stages, whereas on the left, the bigger concentric rings is the second half, the fifth through 8 stages. Now, so what's the connection? It's the, damn it. Okay, it's this. Okay, it's this. Okay, so this on the right, the ring of, I call it the 5 ancient rings of destiny, okay, is here. It's all cultivate in yourself, the virtues. Okay, that's where it is. Okay, so that's how it's related to the 8 stages, okay, of the great learning. Okay, so all right, so that's what it is. Okay, so that's more graphical. Okay, hopefully. Okay, now let's go to the section 3. Okay, so I'm going to go through this very quick because I'm going to take, it's already 90 minutes. So therefore, observe others with yourself, observe other families with your family. Basic meaning is use ourselves as detached observers of others. Okay. Another meaning is detached observation is a 2-way street. Number 1, take your understanding of others and apply it to yourself. Okay. And then understanding, observing, knowing yourself, and leverage your self-knowledge to gain insights on others. So some examples. Would you like more friends? Right? Yeah. Most of us will say, yeah, sure. So then you extend friendships to others. Be the callous, proactive, the person who reaches out. Would you like to be treated with courtesy? Start being courteous, right? Okay, now, there are many ancient idioms or sayings which illustrate this level of observation. That's the second one, understanding, observing, knowing yourself and leveraging it to gain insights. Okay, so we're almost there. Okay, Appendix D. I got 2 more appendices and then 1 more diagram. Okay, here it is, Appendix D. The self and the golden rule. Okay, I don't know. 金科, does that make sense? I don't know. Maybe it is. I don't know. So, okay, this is an idiom in Chinese. It's called 将心比心. Okay, literally it means use the heart, compare the heart. That's literally what it means. Okay, it's an idiom. It means to use your feelings to understand how others feel. Be empathetic. Feel for others. Put yourself in someone's shoes. Okay, or put oneself inside. Okay, where did it come from? It came from the commentary on Great Learning by Zhu Xi. He's a Song Dynasty Neo-Confucian scholar circa 1270. Okay, all right. Okay, that's very important, right? 将心比心. We should be empathetic. We should put ourselves. We should have that mindfulness to put ourselves in somebody's shoes, to see things from somebody else's perspective, right? That's part of magnanimous, etc. Being open, right? All that stuff. Okay, so that's important. That's a basic guide. Now, what's the golden rule? We know about the golden rule. By the way, the Analects talked about it in 2 places. I think Dr. Domingue once, and I think Mencius also talked about it once. Well, not mentioned, maybe another one, I forgot. Okay, anyway, doesn't matter. So it's just say 己所不欲 夫施于人. Literally, it means self that which does not want, do not give to other people. I mean, that's literal translation. Basically, it just means what? Do not do to others as you would not wish done to yourself, or that which you do not want, do not give to others. What's the source? The Analects, okay? In 2 places you can find that, book 12 and book 15. Okay, you guys can look it up, all right? All right, I think Dr. Deming also talked about it too. There's some mention, but it's not in the same words, so that's why I didn't put that down. Okay, so now this saying is one of the earliest known formulations or written record of the golden rule, quote unquote. It's also known as silver rule because it's the inverse, because it has the negation that, as do not, right? And would not wish, okay? All right. So now this version from the Analects is really a better version of the more commonly known golden rule, which is do unto others as you would have done, as you would have them do unto you. Now, people refer to this in the Bible, in the New Testament. I think it's in Matthew and also in Luke. Okay. So anyway, but actually, I think some scholars have said that this rule is also even known to the ancient Greek philosophers or even earlier Persian, philosophers or Babylonian philosophers. But it doesn't matter. But that's the better. This is the better known version. Okay. Now, why would we say that what Confucius said, the golden rule of Confucius, is better version of this more common known version? Okay, and here's why. Okay, why? There could be a potential issue in this golden rule as we express them in the common fashion, do unto others as you would have them done unto you. Anybody see the potential flaw or issue? Anybody know? Well, anyway, okay, all right. I'll go ahead since we've got time. We're already pressed for time. I'm going to need probably another 15, 20 minutes. Okay, all right. Here's the flaw. Now, here's the premise. That's what it is, the flaw. Because what you will want other people to do unto you may not be what other people want you to do unto them. It's very subtle. Okay, you guys get that? Okay, anyway, all right. Now, let's use an example to illustrate this premise. Common example. Let's say you on a diet. Yeah, so okay, you need to lose some weight, okay? I could lose some weight, but anyway. So you want all your friends to help enforce the discipline to help keep you on your diet. Yeah, so you ask all your friends. They say, hey, can you make sure that when we go out or whenever I don't order too much food, especially and whatever, or when we're going out, when you visit me or when I visit you, make sure that I don't stuff fill up on junk food, sweets, etc., right? I don't overindulge in whatever. Yeah, that's good, right? That's good. You're asking your friends to help you enforce that discipline to keep you, on the diet. Okay, so if you assume, right, that what you want from others, in this case, is the enforcement of discipline, right, to keep on a diet, right, is also what other people want. That is where the problem arises. Why? Because what you want may not be what other people want from you. So what happens is, if you're following the golden rule, the common do unto others as you would have them done unto you. So you have other people, reminding you, hey, don't eat that. That's too much. Don't overindulge. Blah blah blah. All that. Enforce, in this case. Enforce. The rules. Okay, to help you keep you on a diet. You end up, right, do unto others, right, as you would have others do unto. So then you assume, hey, yeah, that's a good thing, right? it's well-intentioned. These friends of mine are telling me, reminding me to stay on diet. Don't overindulge, don't overeat, don't gorge yourself. Don't eat sweets. Whatever. Okay, whatever. Okay, don't eat too unhealthy foods. Whatever. Okay, junk foods. So then you're saying, hey, that's good, right? Because that's good. That's good for me. So I should also do the same to others, right? That's following to the golden rule, right? That's following the golden rule. So then you end up imposing your wishes on other people, even though your intentions make it. So then you would do the same to other people. Now, there are two possibilities, right? One is, people will be happy, will be grateful, that you're reminding them to be healthy, to stay on track, not to eat, junk food, overindulge, etc., etc. They actually may be thankful and say, hey, thanks for reminding me. But there could be maybe not as much, but some people may say, hey, mind your business, mind your own business. This is my life, not your life. I enjoy sweets, I enjoy whatever, desserts, I enjoy whatever. Okay. So, don't be a busybody, don't intervene into my business, okay, into my life. See, so that's the problem. You get it? Okay. So even though your intentions are good, right? Okay. So that's where the flaw in this golden rule lies. Okay. Now, the key point is this: what you desire or want may not be what other people desire or want. So it is best to find out what other people want before you do unto them, right? Okay. That's to put yourself in the other person's shoes, right? Yeah, right. It's pretty clear, right? Black and white, right? Pretty clear, right? Okay. So that's called being considerate, right? You consider alternative views, right? Okay. So the golden rule is flawed in this respect, okay? Because it doesn't talk about, do unto others as you would have do unto them, but sometimes don't do unto others as you have done them. It doesn't say that. It didn't have an additional clause, because then that becomes the negation, the inverse. Get it? See, so this is just a positive statement. That's why it's not positive. So the positive statement is only singular. It's only one-dimensional. It's only saying the positive. It doesn't acknowledge the inverse, the negation, because otherwise it would say, do not do unto others. That's the negation, right? See, that's the limitation, i.e. the flaw of this golden rule, okay? So a lot of Westerners especially love this golden rule. They, especially a lot of the more religious type, okay? And not just right, more ideological type, maybe that's a better, or more narrow-minded type, okay? They love this golden rule, and they assume it's the absolute truth. Well, they're wrong. I just proven it right here, logically, okay? As a matter of fact, from logic, this is absolutely correct. You can prove them wrong, okay? All right? Okay, so now, that's the key point. But let's do the analysis. The better golden rule has a flaw. So the golden rule of Confucius is the better version, because it is the logical inverse, the negation, which avoids the potential flaw of you imposing your will on others, even though your intentions are good, because you assume that what you want is also what others want. That's the flaw right there. Okay. All right. Okay. Now, the golden rule of Confucius is better. Why? Yes, it's the inverse, which is the negation. Now, think of the inverse as a mirror, So if there is an object in front of the mirror, it's going to reflect, the mirror will reflect the inverse, or the image on the mirror is going to show the inverse. Get it? So that implicitly implies that the negation, the inverse, also contains the positive. Get it? Because the mirror will not have an image if there's no object in front of it. Isn't that right? Right? If it's just empty air, the mirror is not going to show anything, right? It's not going to reflect anything, or there's no image in the mirror. So there has to, so when you embody or when you state the inverse, in this case, what the golden rule of Confucius says, it already implicitly implies it contains the positive, i.e., the ordinary golden rule. It already implies that, right? Because otherwise, there's no inverse, right? Okay, so that's the logic. Okay, now, counterexample. Suppose what you do not want may be what other people want, right? Yeah, okay, that's definitely possible. Okay, but since you refrain from giving to others, right? Do not do unto others as you would want others not to do unto you. So you refrain from it. At least you do no harm. You do no harm. Okay, so it is the more cautious way of conducting yourself. Some may characterize this as being very passive or overly cautious. But this golden rule of Confucius did not say that you cannot give to others what others want, right? He just said, Confucius just said, you do not do unto others, right? Do not do unto others what you do not want others to do to you, right? But he did not say you can't do unto others what others want to do to you. He didn't say you can't do that, right? So that's the key, okay? So that's why implicitly the golden rule of Confucius say you still can give to others what others want. He didn't say you cannot do that, right? Okay, so the conclusion is the golden rule of Confucius is more cautious. That's true. It requires more self-discipline in the sense of avoiding the potential flaw of assuming what you want is what others want. But it's also flexible and well-meaning in that it does not prevent you from giving to others what they want or what is good for others. Right? Thus, so that's the two you could say pros, two things why the golden rule of Confucius is superior to the normal, the better known golden rule. Okay, so thus, while the golden rule of Confucius is more restrictive on the self, it is, right? It tells you not to do unto others, right? But remains open or flexible to what other people may want. This is based on the above first expression of putting yourself in other person's shoes. So that's why the golden rule of Confucius is definitely a better version of the golden rule that's better known in the West. Okay? So it makes sense? I just pointed out logically why. Okay? All right? Why that the other rule has a flaw, and that's the problem. Okay? All right. So that's the big deal. Okay? So, sorry it takes so long, but that's an important point to know. Okay? Okay, we're almost there. We're almost there. Where am I? Let's see. Okay. Okay. Yeah, right here. Okay. Okay. So basic meaning of the second phrase is about what's the second phrase? It's about observing. Sorry, observing the other. Oh, wait. Yeah, observing of other families with your family. So you can observe other families and learn from their experience, good or bad, right? So your family has the potential also to influence other families. So in addition to all the conversations on all the mundane aspects of life, the Tao can be part of that conversation as well. So for another expression about the family, this is the last appendix. It's very short here. It's basically the family. Now, the Chinese culture, or a lot of Asian cultures, has always emphasized the importance of the family, okay? So there's a phrase, 家和万事兴, okay? So basically it means family harmony, 10,000 things first. Translation means when the family is harmonious, everything goes well. Everything's hunky-dory, right? Okay, so I'm there. Okay, where am I? Okay, a lot. Okay, all right. So an implication is this: if we do not have a detached observation of ourselves first, okay, we may be complacent and be satisfied with all our conduct. Then we will not improve or progress. If we still have room for greater efforts in all our conducts, then we will improve and progress. Okay, so by self-reflecting to observe what our own conducts are, we will know what we have neglected or overlooked. We can correct them. This way would be more ideal. Okay, here's the last summary point. Okay, so expanding the circle of Tao cultivation. One, okay, so that's this. Okay, so your own cultivation first. Learn from others through observation. Give others a hand when they falter. So, okay, so that's a two-way street. Cultivation with loved ones. Observe and learn. Observe and learn from the harmony that others have created and maintain in their relationship. And then cultivation with friends is your circle of influence will naturally expand as you master the Tao in your life. Okay, so, all right. Now, observe other communities with your community. Observe other countries with your country. Observe the world with the world, okay? So basic meaning is beyond the family level, communities also affect another. Another meaning is this is about things that have an impact on not just the family, usually, public works and stuff like that, the common good, okay? That's the community level, okay? Involvement can range from informal roles to formal positions. The Tao can play a role in the community and improve every aspect of it. Management of community and administration of various roles of power. Okay, so now this is missed in the fourth state. This is between the order in the family and governing the country. But this is the intermediate level, okay? So then now to the country. Throughout world history, the Tao has sometimes exerted partial influence on some countries, okay? So the influence of the Tao in some aspects of a country can be in the form of the expression of ideals of democracy, social equality, meritocracy, public education and healthcare, equal opportunity, social welfare, etc., where people can benefit and improve their life. That's the good governance part. Okay, that's the governing the country of the seventh stage. Okay, in the great learning. Okay, so preserving ancient traditions that are based on the Tao teachings and incorporating them into modern society, which helps to provide social cohesion, public safety, improved living environment, etc. All right, that's in the country, and then in the world, observe. Okay, in the world. Okay, observe the world with the world. What does that mean? So it means we have only one world, right? That's only one world. So how can you do that? But that's composed of many different aspects, different spheres, each of which is a world into itself. For example, the world can be viewed as a material entity or from a spiritual, right? So there's a material sphere, spiritual sphere. The secular world compared to the spiritual world, the world of the urban cities contrasted to the world of the rural countryside, the world of human societies compared to the natural animal world, etc., etc. You can divide it in a different way. So there are, even though we say it's the world, but the world are made up of different, you can say, different spheres, different aspects, okay? So another meaning of the phrase is one aspect of the world, such as material, can learn from or inform another aspect of the world, such as spiritual. So we are observing one aspect of the world and applying the lessons to another. We can do that, right? That's how you observe the world with the world, okay? So another way to observe the world is through the eternal perspective of the Tao. That's really the highest level. Human perspective is rather short in terms of days, weeks, months, of years, but the Tao perspective is in terms of centuries, millennia, or ages, all right? It's much longer term. So we can observe the world of the past through history, where the world of the past is a world unto itself, where, right, the world of the past is a separate world, right? Because it's a different time, right? Where events happen, their causes and effects unfolded. With this understanding of history, we can observe the world today. Then we can extrapolate from the past to the present and the future, right? That's how to observe the world with the world. Okay, that's another way of looking at it. So the implication is, okay, last paragraph. We can observe the practice of the Tao from the level of the communities, then expand the practice to the country and then to the world, where each aspect at these three levels can observe and learn or inform another. By understanding the past, we can observe the world today. We can learn from the past and do not have to repeat the mistakes of the past, or we can repeat them. Can we utilize our ability to act in the present to affect the world of the future? let's look at diagram 4. Where is it? Okay, that's the ancient rings. Let's go to the next. Ooh, dang, I don't want to do this. Sorry. Oh, yeah, I want to do this. Okay, so here it is. Okay, so what's the world? Okay, observe the world. First, it's the world of the past. Then that will, what? That's the cause of what? The world now, right? So there's a causal relationship, right? There's a connection, in other words, okay? There's a link. But, so how we should do that is we can observe the world, the present world, through the lessons of the past, right? That's how we observe the world with the world. Okay, that's one example. I'm just using that. Okay, then the world in the present can what? Lead to the foreseeable future, the short-term future. You can call it that way. Now, there's also a link, a connection, how you can observe the present world and to inform the future. That is what we apply what we learn, by observing the world of the past for a better tomorrow, right? So that's how we don't repeat the same mistakes. What they say, history repeats. History repeats is because we forget the lessons that we should learn from the past, right? So anyway, okay. So from the foreseeable future, it's going to lead to what? Now, more in general, I mean, there people say, oh, there are two possible outcomes. Yeah, there are two extreme outcomes. And then there's one sort of in the middle, which is basically what? It's the status quo future. If, we don't screw it up too bad, or we did some very good things, right? Things will pretty much remain relatively stable or the same, right? Now with global warming and all that stuff, that may throw that into question. We're not so sure, right? But we can, but that future is not etched in marble, right? In stone. We still have the potential to change, that global warming trend, right? Even though it may appear less and less, but it's possible, right? Okay, so then, but if it's not, then, the potential is it's going to be a dystopian future. I mean, even worse, if we have a nuclear war, whatever. Okay, so when, like the Book of Revelations, right? The four winds of the four corners, corners of the four, the winds of the four corners, et cetera, whatever. If worst case it's nuclear war, so we have dystopian future. That's when a lot of movies, right, talk about that, right? What's that popular movie, dystopian future? Jennifer Lawrence. What's that? She's the Archer, whatever. What's that movie called? There's a 4-part series to that, or 5-part. I don't know. What a lot of movies, right? A lot of movies talk about the dystopian future. Waterworld, right? That's another one. That's an old one. Okay, all right. So that's one possibility. That's if we haven't learned the lessons, okay, or we really messed it up, right? Okay, we continue that downward spiral. So that's bad. Dystopian is the opposite of utopia, by the way. Okay, utopian. All right. Or I use the gold background because that's, gold is precious, right? So you could have a utopian future. The world of harmony, great harmony, the world of great harmony, 大同世界, right? So, that's one possibility. Okay, that's the possibility. Now, Lao Tzu, well, okay, I haven't reached the conclusion yet, but Lao Tzu is hinting that we could reach the utopian future, but you must do the following, right? Which is what chapter 54, other chapters, but specifically chapter 54 sort of generally outlined. So that's the question. So it's our choice. It's really our choice. We're not doomed by some fixed fate or track for a dystopian future or anything. But actually, the future is in our hands, right? So the key is we have to understand that and learn from the past, right? And if we could establish the Tao well, et cetera, embrace that, then it's very likely that we can achieve this, okay? But, okay, so that's an aspirational goal, okay? So Anyway, all right, okay. So we're almost there, okay? Bear with me a little bit. We're almost at the 2-hour mark. Okay, so the key point is this. If we can observe the Tao being cultivated and practiced at the community, national, or ultimately the world level, this is approaching the Confucian ideal of world harmony. So that's the big if, all right? Okay, if we can, all right? So this is when the Tao prevails over the world. Prevails means widespread, okay, or prevalent, okay, where we can observe the Tao ideals and practices are common everywhere, universal and widespread, where we observe the Tao virtues have the greatest impact, where we observe all of humanity can have the greatest possible benefit. So that would be the world of great harmony. The world of great harmony. Okay, all right. Okay, so now that's the conclusion. Oh, yeah. With what do I know the world is like this? With this, okay? All right, okay. Basic meaning of line is, he's asking a question, okay? How do I know the world is like this? With what do I know the world is so? With what, or, knowledge based everything, do I know the world this way? Okay, so, all right, so. The answer, how can you be so sure? The question to that, to answer the question, how can you be so sure? The key lies in fully comprehending the full scale of this. So what exactly is it, okay? So knowing this leads us to knowing the nature of the source, which is Tao. Remember, the world has a beginning. We regard it as the mother world. That's chapter 52, first line, okay? Okay, so this is also the well-established virtues of the Tao, and to embrace the essence of Tao. The first, this is really the first 2 lines, okay? All right, okay? All right, of the chapter. Deeper meaning of 此, this is the source or essence of the void, which is the source of everything. Okay, so deeper meaning is, how do I know the world will be like? So that's kind of the future, right? With the Tao, from the essence of Tao, which is our Buddha nature essence. That's how to see, how does Lao Tzu know the world is like, okay, or will be like, okay? So the deeper understanding of this can be interpreted in several layers, 7 levels. One, it's the direct reference to Tao. So basically saying is how he's asking, right? With what do I know the world is like this? With the Tao, okay? So that's another way of saying, all right? So with this, or the Tao itself, there's one thing that is the oneness or unity of the Tao, the one truth that reveals all other truths. So if you know the Tao, the truth, the Tao, the oneness of Tao, then all the other truths will be revealed, okay? So this is to observe the Tao with the Tao. It's kind of like tautological, okay? So basically, he's saying, I can observe the Tao. Now, there are 2 levels. Okay, that's not one. One is this Tao, this first Tao, implies its manifestations, its functions, its utility. Then the last Tao, the second Tao, is the essence. Okay, so that's another way to say it. Okay, so here's the higher understanding. How does Lao Tzu know the world can progress to become a very ideal state? By a well-established practice and virtues of Tao, holding on to its teachings and embracing the essence of Tao, by manifesting our eternal Buddha. That's how. Now, obviously, this is a big task, or challenge to to the whole, to the most world, okay, most people, okay. But it's possible. If we could do this, I would say it doesn't need to have a huge majority, but I think at least if you have half of the world that can do this, then we'll be pretty close. We'll be way better off than we are today. But never mind half, maybe even a third, okay? So anyway, all right. So the implication is this. Why is it possible to achieve the consummate universal goodness for all things? That's the you can say great harmony. Okay, from the truth, that's the true principles of Tao. From our Buddha nature essence, this quote unquote, is a reference that points directly to the one or oneness of our Buddha nature and physical selves. That's at the personal level, and to the Tao essence and the cosmic moi. That's on the grand cosmic scale. So here's the conclusion, the key. Sorry, folks, it took so long. But anyway, here. So in accordance with this, from or through the principles of Tao, there will be no deviation because all came from the Tao. That's the source, right? It's essence, which is the well-established virtues of Tao and holding tightly to the essence of the Tao, where by cultivating the Tao in yourself leads to the establishment of genuine Tao virtues. By cultivating the Tao in the family leads to the abundance of Tao virtues, where the positive influence of the Tao can spread to other families, bringing lasting Tao virtues to the community, spreading prosperous Tao virtues to the country, and even throughout the world leads to Tao virtues everywhere. Okay, so this grand vision, okay, of the world of great harmony can be achieved by observing others based on our own self-knowledge, whereby observing other families with your family, by observing other communities with your community, by observing other countries with your country, we gain insights, and by observing the world with the world as the result of its past, in order to move closer to this grand vision of the future. All this is on the basis of these. That which is well established cannot be uprooted. First phrase. That which is strongly held cannot be taken. Second phrase. This is to establish the practice and virtues of Tao and embrace its teachings and its essence. This is the well-established practice and virtues of Tao. Okay, finished. I'm sorry it took so long, but it's a pretty important chapter. But anyway, that said, I'd like to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters. And if I've said things incorrectly or wrong, I ask for the Buddhas and Lao Tzu's guidance and forgiveness. Okay, and everybody else. Okay, thank you.